Hello, hello. Whew. This is the first episode back in a while. And I'm going to tell you more about where I've been in the next episode or two. But for now, what I'll say is this: I have been reflecting a lot this past year because this year is actually the 10-year anniversary of when I have grown out of or healed my disordered eating, my binge eating, my emotional eating, all that kind of stuff. Prior to that was 10 years of suffering. So combined, now we're at 20 years of experience. And in hindsight, I consider those 10 years of suffering just as valuable as these 10 years of freedom. So, what I wanted to do to make the most of this for you is to really reflect on what has brought me from really my depths of despair with food to where I am now, where I never in a million years thought I could possibly be. And I say this because when I say 10 years of freedom, I don't mean 10 years of maintenance, of sticking to a plan, of conquering binge urges. That's not what I mean. And I know that for a lot of people, that's what success looks like, right? This is how many binge free days I've had. For me, the success is for food to not only be a non issue, but my relationship with food now is actually what I would consider better than pretty much anybody I know, anyone I can at least think of right now. My relationship with food, I wouldn't trade with another person. Which, if you had asked me that 10 years ago, I probably would have traded my relationship with food with almost anybody. I felt completely out of control. I had no idea what to do because I was trying everything every day. I was exhausted. And now I'm at the point where food is a positive part of my life. It's something I enjoy. It's something that nourishes me and fuels me. But I don't think about it beyond that, beyond just the pleasure of while I'm eating it. And then I feel satisfied. And then I move on with my life. You don't even understand. These are words I never in a million years thought would come out of my mouth and actually be the truth. So, what I want to do in honor of the 10 years of suffering, the 10 years of freedom and growth, and not just the 10 years of my experience, but in these last 8 years, I've been coaching other people, many other people who have been struggling for much longer than I was. I've worked with somebody who ever struggled. She struggled for 60 years. So I've learned a lot, as you can imagine, not just through my own personal journey, but through witnessing a lot of other people. And I've learned so much in this time. So, what I really wanted to do is give you something that you can take with you that I haven't necessarily given to you before. Um, in this podcast, in the past, I've focused a lot on strategic things. And I still, you know, we can't get anywhere without a good strategy. And a lot of us have bad strategies and don't even know it. However, there are much deeper things at play that I really hadn't focused on intensely in the podcast. And I really reserved it more for my private client coaching. And I'm at the point now where I wanted to offer something in honor of this kind of milestone for me, 10 years of freedom. I wanted to offer something to everyone. I wanted to make it free, but I also want to make it very deep. And I'm going to explain what I'm offering and how you can participate. I want you to understand what I'm going to offer you is free, but I don't want you to look at that as cheap. Okay. Like this time that you invest into what I'm about to explain can be the most valuable time you've ever invested in yourself, in your relationship with food. And it does have the capacity to change your relationship with food forevermore. And I'm not kidding. That's not an exaggeration. This can completely shift your relationship with food, your relationship with self, and how you move forward from here. So this has the capacity to change your life. And just because I'm offering it for free, I don't want you to look at this as it not having value. If you truly take this seriously and invest the time, so here's what I'm offering. Over the next 20 weeks, so I'm going to do 1 week per year of my experience, okay? 1 week per year of my experience. I'm going to do 2 episodes a week. Now, these episodes are going to be about what will actually bring you freedom and success in this area of your life. Now, I want to preface this by saying, for a lot of you, and potentially that's you, your standards are too low right now. And I'll explain. So, when I was in the depths of struggling with binge eating, what I would say to myself and to God as I was praying and shouting to the sky, please help me, I would say, all I want is to just be normal. All I want is to just not be out of control anymore. And to me, that was already so far out of my reach that it was like, this is my prayer. So I understand if that's where you are right now. But recently, this was this past April, I led a retreat in Yogaville, Virginia, in the ashram, and I had 12 people in the retreat. And on day one, I went around the room and I asked everybody what their ideal relationship with food would look like. And I'll tell you, the highest vision that somebody in that group had was, I just want food to feel neutral. I just want food to feel neutral. This standard is so low compared to what is actually possible for you. And I know that this feels unreachable, so it almost is like unsafe to reach beyond that food could actually be peaceful, that it could be positive, that it could be pleasurable, that it could be nourishing, right? All of these words that are so much more elevated than neutral. But I get it. I get it. For me back then, all I wanted was to just not even binge. Like, it didn't even have to be great. I would just love to not stuff my face to the point every night where I'm literally crawling to bed because I ate too much that I can't even stand up straight. It hurts too much. So I would crawl into bed and then keep eating while I was in bed. Like, if I could just get to the point where I could stand up straight, like, that would have been an upgrade from where I was. To just binge a few times a week would have been an upgrade from where I was. But the problem is when we're in that low state, is we start to then lower our bar of what we actually want. And then what we even believe is possible starts to get warped. So I'm here to tell you, and I'm the living proof, and there's so many other people who are living proof, and especially if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you've heard many of my past clients come on, not just right after they finish my program, but years later. I've invited them back on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later. They've come back and continued to talk about how their relationship with the food has evolved and changed. And I can say personally for myself, it is so much better than I ever thought it could be. I truly have the healthiest relationship with food of anybody I know. I never thought I could say that. So what I want to give you in this next 20 weeks is not just I get questions from a bunch of people like, well, how do I handle this situation? How do I handle this situation? I get the desire for strategy, especially when we feel out of control. Having a strategy and having something to follow and something to control, a structure, is very comforting mentally. But without the proper foundation of mindset, of who you are, how you actually relate to food, how you actually relate to yourself, the way that you think about things, without that shifting, no strategy will ever help you, even if it's the best strategy in the world. And I do believe I have the best strategy in the world, but I also know for sure that it will not help you if you don't have the right foundations. So my goal here is to give you the right foundations. And this is true for anything, by the way. Even if you look at, let's say, working out, we have all the information in the world on working out now. You can actually just take your phone, Type into ChatGPT, make me an 8-week workout that creates the results of this, 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 and this. And within 3 seconds, it's going to spit out the quote unquote perfect plan, right? And if you don't like that, you can get another perfect plan or another perfect plan. You can adjust it however you want. So if it were that easy, right? If it were that easy, all of us would be super fit, super ripped, super healthy. We'd have the body of our dreams. Why wouldn't we? We have the perfect workout. We have all the information. There is a gap, obviously. If we look at humanity at large, we can see there is a gap between just having the information and having a structure versus actual consistency and implementation and execution. So my goal for these next 20 weeks is not just to give you surface level strategies that have nothing to stick to. What I really want to give you is the deeper stuff that's connected to how you think about food, how you relate to food, how you relate to yourself, and the shifts that I needed to make, that my clients needed to make, that really changed the game completely. And that's why my relationship with food now is so good, because I'm not just the same me fighting the brain that I had 10 years ago. The brain that I had 10 years ago is a completely different brain. The brain I have now doesn't even want to binge. I'm actually very turned off by the idea of binging. I don't have the desire for it anymore. I don't have the urge for it anymore. And that's why it's so easy for me to be consistent and not binging, because it doesn't even register in my brain anymore. Whereas before, this was all that was registering in my brain. It was all the energy in the world to try to not think about it, to try to not plan my next binge or recover from the binge I just had, or plan my next diet or plan my next meal plan. That was consuming all of my thoughts. A lot of people call it food noise. That was my life, like a big fog of food noise. Now I don't have that at all, at all. So I want you to give yourself permission to set the bar higher than where you've been. And in my first official episode of these 20 weeks, it's going to be on Tuesday, July 21st. What I want to talk about is one of these big shifts that I actually made. And it's the shift that happened before all the other shifts. And it's so huge and so important that I didn't even realize it, but I kind of failed in this shift in another area of my life that I only really caught myself in recently. And since I caught myself and made this shift in a completely different area of my life, now things have started to change for me for the first time in literally years in that area. So that's what I'm going to teach you first. So I really want to start with the deep foundational work that can truly change your life forever. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic or dramatic. I'm really saying, if you take this seriously and apply this, this could change the game for you completely. And it could change you as a person. It can change your mind and how you even view food. Like, think about how easy it is to not binge when you don't want to, right? It might seem so far-fetched now, but my goal for you is by the end of these 20 weeks, that not only do you start feeling changes within yourself, but you start to see the trajectory and you start to set this bar higher for yourself and have a big vision for your health, for your well-being. I want you to view your body as a safe place to live in. I want you to view your mind as a safe place to live in, because let's face it, our body and mind are our homes. And think about how much we invest in our houses, our cars, like the places we do spend a lot of time. Our families, like we consider our houses, our cars, our families, we consider this to be our home, like the places we live in. We invest so much. We invest so much time, attention, energy, money into like the care for our loved ones, into the renovations of our house. Like, we put so much of our time, attention into this. And yet, where do we actually live? 24/7, literally 24/7. We live in our own mind. We live in our own body. So I want you to treat these next 20 weeks like you've invested $1 million in it and you want to squeeze everything you can out of it. like I said, just because I'm offering it for free, I really want you to treat it like you are truly investing your time and your attention into your home. And I'll tell you something. If you really want to take this seriously and participate, there are two things I need you to know. Number one, it truly, and I've seen the proof of this again and again, no one can make me budge on this issue. Like I believe this so firmly. It does not matter how long you have struggled already. So if you've struggled 6 months or 60 years, that's not going to be the deciding factor of how successful you are. Your age is not going to be the deciding factor of how successful you are. I've worked with 21-year-olds and I've worked with 72-year-olds. Okay? Your age is not going to be the deciding factor. What is going to be the deciding factor is your ability to come at this with an open mind and the willingness to put aside what you have previously believed and have been taught. A lot of this work isn't just learning, it's unlearning. I had to unlearn, and there were beliefs that I would have died on that hill back when I was 25. I would have died on that hill saying, this is true, and this is true, and this is true. Now I would die on the other hill because I've learned and I've grown and I've seen through experience, and now I have wisdom. So my ask for you is not just to show up with your time and your attention, but to show up with a truly open mind and the willingness to put what you knew aside. My best clients that I've ever had, who I would consider to be the most successful clients I've ever had, they are the people who, when they joined my program, they said, I'm coming into this with a blank slate. And I'm going to put everything, every preconceived notion I have aside, and I'm just going to show up and do this work and execute with an open mind. So that's how you could get the most benefit of these next 20 weeks. So here's what you need to do in order to participate. There's a couple things. So first of all, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to be putting these episodes out on the podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week, starting on July 21st. I think July 21st is a Tuesday. Hopefully I'm remembering that right. Now, this is going to stream to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It'll also be on YouTube. So if you want to subscribe to YouTube, it'll also be on there too. Now, another thing, there's going to be extras and some bonuses. Now, remember, all of this is free, but I want you to treat it like you paid for it. Okay. So the next thing, every time after I give a podcast, I am going to take some aspect of that and go deeper into it. And this is just for the people who are going to be on my email list. So if you're already on my email list, great. If you're not on my email list, the way you can sign up is go to katiepapo.com/resources. I'll put it in the show notes too, katiepapo.com/resources. And that's where you're going to get the emails that come along with it, going deeper into the topics, giving you different angles to think about, because it's important that we repeat these concepts because that's how we rewire the brain. And what I found is sometimes I'll say something and someone will kind of get it or get it in theory, but then they'll just hear it a slightly different way. And suddenly something clicks and now they can't unsee it. So I really encourage you to go all in here. And I know that a lot of us, we have all or nothing personalities, and sometimes that can be good and sometimes that can be not so helpful. This is one of those times where going all in is really going to serve you. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, and get on my email list at katiepapo.com/resources. Now, the next thing, guys, I don't want to say I'm really bad at this because I'm working on improving it. I have not been very active on social media. This is going to change. So you can follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. I don't know if I'm going to do TikTok yet, but I'll let you know if I do. I have never been on it before, but I feel like this needs to get out there. So I'm trying to get past my own ego here and just put myself on the platforms. But what I'm going to do there, shorter bits of wisdom for you to latch onto, again, to help you reinforce what you're learning Also, I'm going to explain things in different angles with different analogies because the more you hear it in different ways, the more it's going to sink and soak in. And that's really what's needed for these identity shifts. What we're really talking about here is an identity shift. Like when I started my journey, one of the goals that I had for myself was actually around an identity. It was no longer like I just want to stop binge eating. It was I want to be one of those people who, like some of my friends, like we would go out to eat and we'd get dessert or something, and they would just like leave half the dessert on the plate. And we'd be having a conversation, and all I'm thinking about while we're having the conversation is their leftover dessert, and are they gonna eat that, and would it be weird if I asked to eat that? So that was what was on my mind, but for them, it's like the dessert isn't even there. They don't even care. I could take it or leave it, doesn't matter. I wanted to be one of those people. At that time, I didn't know how I'd get there, but I knew that I didn't want to be a person who was just constantly struggling with food. I wanted to be the person who didn't even think about it, right? Because I remember kind of early into my journey, I went to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting. I looked around that room and there were people who had been going to that meeting for years who were still deeply, deeply struggling. And they came to the meeting for the community, which, I'm definitely never going to argue against community, but it was a community of people who were all struggling and not progressing over the path of years. So I didn't want to be in that room because I didn't want that to be my identity as somebody still struggling as much as they were. I wanted to be the person who food was genuinely a non-issue. And now my vision has even expanded beyond that. So this is what I want for you is to be able to really get these concepts and these foundational mindset and identity shifts that are going to be the base layer for everything else that's to come. This is more important than strategy. And I love strategy. And I'm not going to say it's not important because it is. You have a bad strategy, it's going to screw you. However, no matter what strategy you have, no matter how good it is, without this, no strategy will stick. So this is where I want to start our focus of the next 20 weeks, and then we're going to evolve from there. So I'm really, really looking forward to spending this time with you. And go ahead, subscribe to everything, join my email list, check the show notes if you need to see where things are, and we'll talk very soon. Bye.